Hi there YouTube, welcome to another episode of Airgotten Weapons. Just kind of wanted to reshoot my episode about the difference between Marui and Maruzen L96 Airsoft rifles, because it wasn't really that good and the rifles weren't completed. I was kind of in the middle of fixing them up, so I figured I'd redo it real quick for you since it starting to gain some views. And it wasn't that well done. Not that this is going to be either, but don't want to get your hopes up. Anyway, this is the Double Eagle M59, which is going to be my representation of the Maruzen, even though it's not really directly, because it's a 3/4 scale. You can see these two that are put up together here. See how much shorter it is. And it's not just that. It's not just the barrel and stock length. It's also the cylinder and receiver. It's about a 1/4 inch, I'd say, maybe a little bit longer, more length to the receiver. And the springs will still work. There's some of the stuff that still works, but you're gonna face an uphill battle modifying an M59 rather than modifying an actual APS or Maruzen version. There's the upgrade parts are gonna be for those, not for this. And one of the main differences between the two versions in general is the magazine. So you can see on this Marui style version, this is actually a well, but you can see there that the magazine juts down from underneath the bolt where it should as an actual rifle, whereas on these the magazines are here in the stock, in the front part of the stock. And on the M59, that's completely different than any of the other versions, and I'm not sure why they did it, is that the magazine release, the notch for it is on the top of the mag instead of the bottom, unlike the UTG or any other brand. So when you're looking to buy a replacement mag for an M59, just make sure that you're aware of that. And for a while there, they were basically giving those mags away, but now they've all dried up. So if you have one of these, maybe now's the time to get some extra mags. So these are about 40 rounds. These are 26 rounds approximately. This is not a way to fix these, but these have a tendency to blow open because they're all plastic, even the bosses inside that hold the screws. So probably better not to load them all the way for longevity purposes. And the length of throw on the cock of the bolt on a Maruzen is a lot stiffer and harder. The spring itself is physically a lot longer. You can see here, this is a Marui bolt and this is a Maruzen bolt. So you can see the difference in spring length is a lot more. So the effort on cocking is going to be a lot more on the Maruzen, pretty much regardless of what you do. You know, everything else being equal. So this one is the 4403 well. It's not actually a Marui, and it has the folding stock, which is generally useless mainly because this sling swivel is now in the way of the bolt coming back, so that if you don't have your thumb exactly in the right place, it'll skim across this rather sharp sling swivel, so you might want to grind that off. I don't know if you like the folding stock, I guess that's fine. And so this one here is a 4401, which as far as I could determine is just the non-folding stock. It's the T, which is the tan, which this is kind of an ugly tan. It's not really the correct tan. Much in the same way that this is not the correct green. But if you notice that this one doesn't have the extra stock adjustable footrest thing that this one does. So I'm not sure what's up with that. These have adjustable cheek rests, whereas these don't. I mean, they do kind of, but it's just a peg that runs up and down. It's not really that great of a system in general. So working down on this end, these generally come with an aluminum inner barrel. And so this one is a modified one, and that is one nice thing about these Double Eagle ones, is they're cheap. So if you can get them broken, and then you can work on them and kind of gain your confidence in building the bolt action rifles. If you're more of an AEG tech or a gas blowback kind of guy, you know, if you wanted to get into it without spending a bunch of money, these are a good, thing to work with. So this one I put a 455 AK barrel, AEG barrel that I cut down into it. And it's really not that much of a deal if you want to modify an AEG barrel into a bolt action barrel. There's just a little bit difference in the hop up, the way that that's set up. So this one I put an actual Maruzen trigger mech box, metal mech box into. It's got the extra blade like a Glock kind of, or a, you know, like a Ruger or a Savage Accu trigger, I should say. And I don't know, it's okay. It was a lot of work for not a lot of payoff. It has the UTG, I believe it's UTG brand, upgrade kit in it, which also proved to be pretty much worthless because it doesn't shoot a whole lot faster than this unmodified version. So I don't know if that's really worth your time and effort. Definitely not worth the cost. So this one has the Angel Custom set in it, and it's okay. It gives you a little bit of extra performance, but not enough to justify the cost again. I have some custom turn barrel spacers, and that's something else on these. There's two different versions. There's the tapered barrel version, which is this version, and then there's a straight barrel version, which is more this profile. And they sell a lot of the barrel spacers for the straight version. So, you know, there's a difference, and you're going to have to look hard for the tapered barrel if you're not going to make them yourself. Same thing goes with the silencer adapters. They do sell some silencer adapters you can find online, but they're not for this tapered version. They're only for the straight version, as far as I could tell. This one doesn't have threads in it anyway. It's pinned, and to get the pin out, you have to take the inner barrel out and drive the pin into the space that's left over, and then this slides out. It's the same way I got the muzzle brake off. I don't really like the way that it looks, but it's already such a long rifle, putting a silencer on it's kind of ridiculous. So anyway, this is now the Action Army version. It's got the Teflon cylinder and the 45-degree piston, because it's just got the stock trigger. And that's the difference. If you see a 45-degree piston, that's for a stock gun. The 90-degree piston, you would have the sear, the 90-degree sear in it, and that would be if you're running like 150 M150 spring, something of that nature. That's when you would need that 90-degree piston. So otherwise, if you just have a stock gun, the 45-degree piston is what you're looking for. So that's clear that up too. I mean, there's so many different variations that you can really get caught up in a parts nightmare, and the people selling the parts may not know it either. You know, there's always that factor. And when you're ordering from China or what have you, it might take you 2 months to figure out, hey, you ordered the wrong part. You got one for a Maruzen when you needed one for a Marui. So another thing is the shark fins, and that's what this extra piece on the loading nozzle is for. There's a little clip that holds the shark fin in place, and those clips are cheap, so when you see them like at e-bike or wherever, just buy a bunch of them, because I think they're a couple dollars and they break real easy. But AirsoftPro.cz, they have the aluminum loading fins, and I have one of those on this guy here. I don't know if you can see it. No, it's up in the front. So anyway, so it's got the aluminum loading fin, but the plastic loading fin works fine. I didn't really, I mean, it didn't need it, but I was just afraid it would break because the plastic loading fin is such, it seems like such a brittle small piece. But it's not the loading fin that's actually the problem, it's the little C-clip that holds it on. Those things are really, really delicate. You can just break them taking off to clean the gun. I mean, literally, it's that weak. And unfortunately, I don't think even AirsoftPro.cz has anything special or different, because I ordered the aluminum fin, and when I ordered an extra clip, it was just the regular one. So I really like this series. I'm kind of the oddball guy. I could have saved myself a lot of extra effort if I would have went with the VSR-10. I know that. I realized it many times during the course of putting these together. But, you know, if you want something different, you're going to have to go a little bit outside the box, and that requires ordering special parts, making parts yourself, having to figure stuff out on your own because there's no online guide for it. So that's what I'm hoping this will be, a little bit of help where I didn't have any. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below. I always answer the questions. And if I don't know, I'll tell you that I don't know, or I'll find someone that can find out. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. And for today's extra content, we have Seviche German Raindrop Camo. And as an airsoft player and military history buff and one-time reenactor, you become kind of, kind of into the different camo patterns, and they're, it seems like the more intricate they are, the more people like them, like these digicams and custom printed camouflages for the terrain, etc. But I can tell you from experience that this is one of the best camos ever invented. At least around my part of the world, more temperate climates. This stuff will make you invisible in the woods. I mean, literally invisible. And it's all it is dashes. It's 2 colors, simple, super simple pattern. But when you get back, it's invisible. And I've been hunting with people that said that I just disappeared. They never saw me till I came back to the truck, and I was watching them the whole time. I could see them. I was waving to them. I was wondering why they weren't waving back. And this was the key right here. Another interesting, I don't know if it's a fact or not, but I have experienced it myself. I have all the different levels of this, all the way. This is kind of the middle weight. I've got the tropical that's unquilted, and then I've got the heavy, like kind of winter coat. And I had heard that the East Germans and the Soviets during the Cold War had they didn't have the infrared nighttime detection capabilities like we did. They had it, of course, but it wasn't as good, the infrared, the heat detection stuff. So to defeat it on our side, against the Americans, they made their clothing so that it wasn't, you couldn't pick it up on the thermal imaging sites and stuff that we had developed, and that they had not quite developed. So it was kind of a stopgap measure. And so anyway, flash to many years later, I buy full sets of this on the surplus market because it was really inexpensive at the time. And now it's a lot harder to find. But I had the heavy jacket on, and it will not trigger the doors at a supermarket. You will walk right into the glass door every time. It will not set it off. You'll have to wait for someone else to come and trigger the door so you can get inside. It's pretty bizarre, and it took me a little while to figure out. I thought I was just like a ghost or something. I couldn't figure it out until, oh yeah, the whole infrared blocking thing. So this is a jacket. I've got the pants. They've got quilted pants. The only thing about the pants is that they're the German style, where they don't have belt loops, so you have to wear suspenders, special suspenders that fit on there, which isn't convenient. But the jackets are nice. And this is one of their Zeltbons, like the World War II style. If you're familiar with those, it's a tent quarter, as well as you can turn it into kind of a makeshift poncho. And I like to use this when I'm calling for coyotes. I put it over the top of me, and they'll walk right up to you. Not that they won't anyway, but they will walk right to the point where it'll scare you. But that's kind of the fun of it. So I just thought I'd share that I don't know if you've seen it. It seems to be more rare than it was, 20 years ago, when it was just seemed to be everywhere, where you could get it for really cheap. But that's kind of how the Flecktarn stuff was, and now it's expensive. So if you see something on the surplus market, be sure you get at least yourself a set, because you don't know how long it'll last. So anyway, that's today's extra content. Thanks for watching.